after binge watching every bone-crushing and blood-splattering episode of Invincible, I think I'm qualified to say at this point that Mark Grayson may be destined to be a hero, but his journey there is far from sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows.
I'll never let anyone
See what I mean? Today, I'll be ranking all of Mark's crimes from the super petty to offenses that would make Omni-Man proud. So when it comes to the law, let's see if he really is. Nice. Anyway, the first crime on Mark's rap sheet brings us to the very first episode of the series, It's About Time, and the young half-Viltrumite is struggling with his super powerless life.
Mom, what? I'll be out in a minute.
My bathroom's out of soap. There's nothing going on down there I haven't seen before.
Just get out.
To make matters worse for Mark, his dad is the defender of Earth, so, you know, way to rub it in. Thing is, he should have gotten his powers by now, but the fact they haven't come through yet probably means he's more like his normal mom. Well, that all changes when he goes to work at Burger Mart.
It's about time.
I guess that's one way to take out the trash. Flinging trash into the stratosphere might not be a problem, but as the old saying goes, what goes up must come down.
We're better than the rest of us.
Dad! I didn't know they had Burger Marts.
I know the guy is super strong, but he's managed to toss that trash all the way to the UK. Also, what do they serve at Burger Mart? Like, are you sure that's beef? Unfortunately, though, for Mark, this will be classified as littering, or in the UK, fly tipping. I know, those frickers are weird. Considering it lands right outside where the king lives in Buckingham Palace, Mark would be slapped with a fine worth $12,500, which is a small price to pay for getting your powers. Getting to grips with his new abilities was always going to be tough, but to say he's wet behind the ears is a little bit of an understatement. Who says that?
No.
It's only natural. The first thing you'd want to do after getting your powers is fight crime. I wouldn't advise it just yet. But Mark suits himself up and heads for the nearest criminals he can find, and that's where things get a bit messy. Having smashed through the gate and left the men in black for the cops to pick up, Mark turns his attention to the big brute of the operation, Titan.
Huh, what about kicker? No, it sounds willfully childish.
Hey, that's not bad for your first ever crime fight. I mean, he did tear up half the town, but more on that later. For now, let's turn our attention to someone else Mark has gotten a little handsy with, Alan the Alien.
Stay away from my planet.
But you're trying to tackle me into something. Your moon is that way.
Mark makes pretty short work of tackling the one-eyed space intruder, sending him smashing into the moon.
Really? You tried this already?
Alan's made of pretty strong stuff, though. And he's a fair fighter.
Maybe you'll do after all.
What are you talking about? What? Talk!
Are you using your timeout? Hey, I didn't invent the rules.
What rules? I don't even know who you are.
Oh.
Turns out Alan is actually an evaluation officer working on behalf of the coalition of planets to make sure each planet is well protected. Oh, frick, Mark's just assaulted the space government. Good thing Alan's pretty chill, though.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, man. Your planet signed up for the program. See? Request from Urath.
This is Earth.
Earth.
Yes.
Is that with an E or a U?
E.
There's one more assault count from Mark I'd like to cover, though, and it comes from the episode A Deal with the Devil, where our favorite superhero is shell-shocked to find out how the GDA is really run. So he takes his frustration out on Cecil, well, after Cecil tried to kill him, but you know.
As for the rest of you, I will never work for you again. We're done.
Yeah, he's not a happy superhero, is he? I guess he wouldn't be either if your boss was helping mass murderers find their feet. I know Mark's just trying to do what's right here, but at the end of the day, he's acting as a vigilante in the first count. He isn't working for Cecil or the government yet, and as a result, he would be held liable for assault of both of these suited criminals and their big bodyguard, which would earn him 3 months behind bars with a $5,000 fine for each of them. Same goes for his stunts with Alan, and as for Cecil, well, he's a top government official, so that'll probably earn Mark an extra year in the sentence along with a $10,000 fine, totaling out at a nice 2 years behind bars and 30K. He's only had like 2 days on the job. Imagine what he's gonna be like in a few years. Having the freedom to fly around everywhere sure sounds fun, but flying at the speed of sound comes at a cost, especially if you're not careful.
Huh? Yes. Sorry.
I know he's not the greatest flyer in the world, but he's just caused a biblical level sandstorm there and doesn't even check to see if he's harmed anyone. Not very heroic. That's one downside to flying. Another is just the sheer amount of trespassing that happens as a result of it. Don't forget that pretty much every building in the city is privately owned, so when Mark meets people on the rooftops, yeah, that's technically trespassing, like here.
I'm not a criminal. I just owed one money and now I can't get out.
So?
It's small potatoes, really, especially in comparison to when Mark steps foot on bars and immediately begins trespassing.
The hell?
Let's just try to forget about those mutant brain squids for a sec. Mark is an outsider trying to make a good first impression into the Martian kingdom, and I don't think sneaking down their halls is a good way of doing so.
Do not move.
See, they look pretty ticked off to me. So for whipping up a whirlwind of sand, Mark would be likely looking at an environmental damage charge, and considering the size of the storm, he'd have no problems earning himself 2 years in the can with a $75,000 fine. As for the trespassing, Mark is a serial reoffender, and he'd be given a blanket penalty of a further 12 months inside. Man, maybe these powers are more trouble than they're worth. As a hero, Mark's main goal is usually fighting against criminals, but when he meets Titan again, he's asked to fight alongside him.
So help me take down my boss, Machine Head.
That's not a real name.
Mark's got a point, that does sound like a totally made-up name. But let's hear the guy out at least.
Machine Head runs this city. If it's illegal and it makes money, it's his. And when people need to die to keep it that way, he's got muscle like me to take care of it.
Why don't you give Fight Force a call?
Sure, man, just fly away. Forget about everyone else down here. Let me show you what you don't see from up there.
I get that he's still new to the game, but he's being a little cocky here, don't you think? He eventually agrees to what Titan's talking about and heads with them to scope out Machine Head.
Which one's Machine Head?
Isotope, let's go.
What the hell was that?
His pet. You help me take down Machine Head. You help real people with real lives. Think about that next time you're fighting some stupid elephant man or whatever.
Mark takes some time to think it over and decides to take Titan up on his offer.
The only place we're guaranteed to find Machine Head is 60 stories up. It's lined with windows, but they're bomb-proof or something. There's a whole team of ex-military assholes patrolling the place. I'm tough, but I'm not stupid.
And I know Titan is a good guy who's kind of gotten swept up in stuff he shouldn't have, but Mark is still technically aiding him in criminal activity here, so he'd be slapped with an aiding and abetting criminal charge, and if this is the real world, he'd be easily looking at 8 years in the clink. Oh, and don't worry, we're going to see what happens inside of Machine Head's base real soon. The crimes are coming up thick and fast for the young hero, and so far Invincible has racked up 13 years on his charge sheet, as well as a huge set of fines that total up to 117,500 smackaroons. But trust me, this is nothing compared to what's coming up. Because as they say, you either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. And if that saying fits anyone, it is Invincible. So he's finding his footing as a hero, but to be honest, his actions put himself and others in danger far more than they really should have. Like in the episode Neil Armstrong Eat Your Heart Out, where Mark volunteers to protect a group of astronauts on a mission to Mars. Yeah, the same one as before. At first it goes pretty swell, but then... They don't look safe to me. Basically, the Martians are pretty annoyed that humans are on their planet due to a parasitic race that has invaded Mars called the Sequids, who would love a human as a host. So the Martians want to execute the humans before anyone is contaminated, but Mark manages to help them make a break for it. Woohoo! They made it out in one piece! All 3 humans and 1 Sequid. Wait, hold on. Oh yeah, that's not good. And what's worse, the real astronaut is now a slave to the Sequids and will be the catalyst to wiping life off Mars. Nice work, Mark! The Sequids end up heading for Earth in a later episode, but are stopped by Mark and the Guardians, but a few end up reproducing in Earth sewers in Season 3. So I guess we'll have to wait to see how that one pans out. As for Mark, this is just scratching the surface, really, when it comes to his reckless endangerment of people. Like, what about the time Mark just watched in fear as the Flaxians invaded Earth? And even when he does dive into the action, he shows himself to be a pretty lousy hero, all things considered.
Stop! Get away from those people!
Well, instead of trying to monologue Mark, I don't know, maybe try beating up the bad guys or something. Luckily, some more seasoned supers show up to save Mark and humanity.
I don't know who you are, but it's time to go.
It's a good thing they were on hand. If it was left to Mark, we'd all be bowing down to Flaxen overlords right about now. Another time Mark acted out of pure recklessness was in the episode That Actually Hurt, where he teams up with Titan to infiltrate and take down mega crime boss Machine Head, like we mentioned earlier. But he ends up getting his Keister kicked, and the supers have to try and bail him out again.
Cecil got an anonymous call. We'll take it from here.
The Guardians may be strong, but they're not strong enough to defeat Battle Beast, who takes out his bloodlust on Black Samson.
Black Samson, retreat.
Well, if you thought that was bad, get a load of what he does to Monster Girl. So basically, thanks to Mark taking a risk to jump into the lion's den with no backup, he nearly gets himself, Black Samson, and Monster Girl killed. I say nearly because they do get revived later in the show. Yeah, we're dealing with some pretty open and shut cases of reckless endangerment here. Each one would without a doubt earn Mark a 5-year stay on the inside with $10,000 worth of fines per count. So he'd be looking at a final charge of 15 years in the summer with $30,000 worth of fine. All for trying to do the right thing. Ouch. Believe it or not though, sometimes Mark doesn't always do the right thing. Some people say that makes him human. I say that makes him criminal. As some of you may know, Mark and Angstrom Levy, the dimension-hopping villain, have some serious beef. Basically, Angstrom's experiment went wrong when Mark intervened, leaving him permanently disfigured. And now he wants revenge.
Let them go! Now!
Did you know your identity is public in almost half of the realities you exist in? You really don't remember who I am. When we met before, you hadn't done this to me.
Oh, God. You're that guy.
Oh, you remember of me? That I was that guy? I am Angstrom Levy.
Angstrom threatens to send Mark's mom and brother spiraling to their demise in another dimension, sparking an all-out brawl between the pair.
Why do you think I sent you across the multiverse? I don't want you to die in some random dimension. I want to do it myself!
Jeez, bad enough getting whooped in your own dimension, but across the multiverse? Don't worry though, Mark won't go down without a fight.
This doesn't end until you and your family are dead.
How much I've been holding back!
See, this is where things start to get a little murky, because sure, Angstrom is threatening Mark and his family, but what Mark is about to do, I think, steps over the line, especially for a hero.
I'll never let anyone ever!
He literally turned him into puree there, didn't he? I think whilst Mark probably felt like he had every right to let Engstrom feel his fury, when it's all said and done, this would be classified as attempted murder. And I know what you're thinking, he survived that? Yeah.
Such a happy family.
Mark could be staring down a 20-year stretch for the attempted murder of Engstrom Levy without a doubt, but maybe he'll come to wish that he finished the job. Guess we'll have to wait until season 4 for that. We've already seen a little snippet of Mark teaming up with Titan, but I think it deserves a closer look, especially when it comes to criminal damage. The pair don't exactly rely on the element of surprise to get in the joint.
What the fuck? Machine head.
Get up.
Come on, guys, those doors are Italian maple! Machine Head isn't gonna come quietly, though, and summons a crack team of evil to take down Titan and Mark.
I'm out of my league. Except I've got money. You have no idea.
Invincible wastes no time and starts attacking the group, smashing up more of Machine Head's office. I think they might be a little outnumbered. Okay, that's putting it lightly. They're getting beaten to a pulp.
I'm gonna grind you up and use you to pave my driveway.
Mark tries to push through the pain to save Titan and take down Machine Head, but he just doesn't have it in him.
Who's next?
Luckily, thanks to an anonymous call, the new Guardians of the Globe arrived to even the odds, but that don't stop the destruction.
Murder these assholes!
Mark ends up getting critically injured thanks to Battle Beast, but Mark just shouldn't have jumped the gun and gone in underprepared, even if he was trying to do the right thing. Thanks to him, thousands of dollars of damage took place, and this isn't the only time he's done it either. Like in the episode Where I Really Come From, where he and his dad have a fight that causes serious chaos in Chicago. It's not long before entire buildings are being torn down, and even though Mark tries to do the right thing, he causes more harm than good.
I've got you. I've got you.
Hot on his tail, though, is his dad, and boy, is he ready for some destruction of his own.
I'm telling you the truth.
They literally destroy half of Chicago here, and that level of criminal damage is pretty unprecedented. Sure, Mark destroyed Machine Head's multi-million-dollar base, but taking out a city is gonna cost him. If we just look at it from a pure damage perspective over the 2 counts, Mark would easily be looking at 20 years behind bars, as well as maybe the biggest fine we've ever given on this entire channel. An absolutely eye-watering $75 billion worth of damage. Where's the flex tape guy? That's a lot of damage. I know they say crime doesn't pay, but neither clearly does being a hero. A little while ago, we touched on Mark's clashes with Cecil. Well, although he got his hands dirty in that episode, when you're a government official, you usually have other people to do your dirty work for you, and for Cecil, that's where the reanimen come in. Think of them as zombie super soldiers that are very much alive, and in another Mark-Cecil showdown, they try to take Invincible down.
You think you can shut me up? Mark?
Mark goes on a tear, slicing through the super zombies.
You're afraid I'll blow the whistle, huh? Stand down and we can talk this over.
By the way, that's still one of the coolest action set pieces I've ever seen, getting hooked by your wires and intestines and slammed to your death. Anyway, Mark isn't done and he doesn't stop until the whole horde is taken out. Obviously, this isn't the only time Mark faces off with a reaniman. Actually, they clash again later in the same episode. Cecil tracks down Mark and leaves him out of the count by using a high-pitched frequency and leaves him to be attacked by his beasts.
Now!
Luckily, the Guardians are on hand with a robot managing to stop the frequency, freeing Mark to take down the Reaniman.
Frequency blocked.
I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but he's turning into his dad, isn't he? Now, I know the Reanimen aren't technically alive, but they're also not technically dead either, and there's still very much a human quality inside of them. So because of that, the most likely charge for Mark's massacre would be manslaughter, 23 counts to be exact. So if we multiply that by the usual sentence of 20 years, Mark could be looking at 460 years of hard time. Next time, Mark, just fill out a complaint form or something. Saving people is usually the name of the game as a hero, but there's been a few times throughout the series that Mark has been the reason someone loses their life, like when the Flaxons show up and he tries to save an injured old lady.
No! Are you hurt? Oh, oh my God.
Try being the operative word, as Mark's crash landing only makes the old lady's injuries worse, and like before, he's frozen in fear.
You! Get her to a hospital! We can handle this! Just go!
For every second Mark spent in that ditch, the old lady inches closer and closer to death, and when he finally gets her to the hospital, it's already too late.
Clamp that vein and get a drip started. Prep operating room 6.
Yes, doctor.
Mark!
I tried my best. I tried to be like Dad.
Man, you gotta feel for the kid. He might have superpowers, but he's got no luck. It's not like it gets any better either. If you remember the exhibition to Mars we covered earlier, you'll recognize the name Russ Livingston, the guy that went from this.
I was sent to protect some of my fellow Earthmen on a mission to your lovely planet. Oh, hey guys.
Yeah, we don't know who that is.
It was a secret mission.
Well, you suck at it then.
To this. Another person that should have been protected by Mark, but instead falls to the wayside thanks to him. As much as I feel sorry for the guy, he doesn't help himself, does he? Then again, his dad is like the best hero in the entire universe, apparently, and he even turns his back on him. We've already touched on this too, but in the battle between Mark and Nolan, a lot of people lose their lives. The first main one is when Cecil sends in some fighter pilots, and Mark tries his best to save one, but only ends up getting them killed.
Oh, man.
You almost killed him!
For what?
Jeez, I know the show is graphic, but dang, that turned me vegan. This is only the beginning, though, is when Mark gets smoked into the city and tries to save more people. Again, the opposite happens. His Chicago involuntary killing spree is far from over, though, as when his dad grabs him on the subway, more people arrive at their final destination. The level of gore in the show is crazy. But what's even crazier is that this happens again. Okay, sure, this time it isn't his dad who's behind it, but another Viltrumite. Conquest.
Enough!
Surely that's as unlucky as getting struck by lightning twice. Or is that what Viltrumites do? They use each other in battles as barging poles. Well, what I do know, Mark Grayson is going away for a very long time for this. Sure, he never meant for those people to die, but he was the cause, and for that, he'd be charged with involuntary manslaughter. Now, it's only fair that he's given the minimum penalty of 3 years per count, but the only problem with that is, he's still looking at 934 counts, which by my calculations, would put him away for 2,802 years. So when it's all said and done, Mark Grayson will be banged up for a long, long time. He'd be very lucky to come away with his crimes with anything less than 3,330 years in jail. And seeing as Viltrumites live for thousands of years, he'll be serving all of it. Although he could live forever and still not finish paying off his mind-boggling fine that stands at just over $75 billion. And to think, 99% of the time he's fighting for the force of good. So what about those on the dark side? Well, there's one on your screen right now. Give it a click to see them feel the full force of the law.